say the best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. I'm the blue chip. I'm a problem. I'm a nuisance. Ever since I put in my 2 cents, I let the investment build and did this hip hop just to get my dad some bills.
Hey, folks, welcome back to B&B's Football Happy Hour. We're back. We're bearded. We're beautiful as always. I'm here with my man, Brian.
What's going on? Glad to be back for show 8.
Yeah, we got some real exciting stuff going on. As you see from the background, I'm doing a show remotely. We're at Naughty Dog Brewery in Winterville, North Carolina. It is a wonderful place. Happy to be here. Obviously, they being a brewery, they serve adult beverages, but it's also a great family spot. Normally, before COVID, they got board games for everybody, all the family to play. They got a nice outdoor area where you can come, let the kids run. I bring my little man here. He's running around playing with the other kids. Brian brings his folks as well, his little youngins. You bring your dog. I mean, it's just a wonderful atmosphere. They're up and running. And I know before COVID happened, they had root beer on tap for the kids, which is delicious. They have a couple Cokes and stuff now, trying to get the root beer back on tap, so we'll see. And then the next awesome thing is we have the rights to use the music you just heard, which is from, his name is Dunson, Dunson. He is an up-and-coming artist. He's going to be big time. He's already done a duet or two with John Legend. I'm sure y'all heard of him. Dunson is fantastic, and we're going to play his music, hopefully opening every show from here on out now that we got the go-ahead. So yeah. I'm pretty excited about that. Now, I don't know about y'all, but each week that goes by, I get more and more tuned in, locked in, ready for this upcoming season. I cannot wait to see some real football on the field. Last week, Brian and I were talking about our free agent acquisitions and people acquired by trade who we thought would have the biggest impact this coming season. This week is a topic I've been waiting for a while. And we are doing our dream trade scenarios. So we're coming up with trades that probably won't happen, but we either really want to see them happen or we would just make too much sense that they won't happen. But we're going to cover those today. And then when they're finished, we're going to have Michael Seff on. He's going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. And then Jeremy Golden is going to hop on and discuss his Washington Redskins. So pretty pumped for the show. Brian, give us a little update on our memberships and things like that.
All right, so last time I checked, we did hit the 450 mark. So I think we hit that today. I invited a few extra people, and one of them put us over the 450 mark, so that's good. We seem to be adding about 25 people a week right now, I think, for the last few weeks. So not too bad.
Podbean too. Get us on Podbean. I know I got my dad hooked up on Podbean now. He can't even spell Podbean, but he's going to go on there and listen to us while he's riding around working.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free app. Everybody has a smartphone. You just download the app and type in B&B's Football Happy Hour. And I think once you follow us, you don't even really have to check the app. As long as you allow the notifications, every week that I upload a new show, it'll just show up on a little notification, so you can click on it, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty self-explanatory. Plus, you can listen to any other podcasts people follow. Everything's on there, so
yeah, we got nothing. There's nothing better to listen to than us, man. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I still listen to Joe Rogan podcast, but
okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, man. So dream trades. So excited. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first. I'll give you the first one. I did.
Right.
I wrote 4 down just in case I might have to throw a curveball. If you throw a curveball at me, I got an extra one.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All right. You go.
So my first one involves the team that we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
In my first trade scenario, Washington sends next year's first-round pick and Brandon Scherf to the Detroit Lions for Matthew Stafford. Now, I'm sure this is gonna break our friend of the show, Arthur Claiborne's heart. I'm sure, because Stafford's his guy. But there have been Stafford trade rumors for years, and there's got to be at least a little fire with all that smoke. Now, there's a lot of angles for this trade. So let me break it down for a second. On the Redskins side, Stafford's only 31, so he's got plenty of years left in the tank. His cap hits are reasonable. He's owed at or under $23 million a year for the next 3 or 4 seasons. And so you got to, your franchise quarterback. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Dak's asking for 40. I'll take Stafford at 23 all day, every day. Plus, their incumbent quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, he may never be an NFL starter. And with the Brandon Scherf stuff, he's a great offensive lineman, but they couldn't get him to a long-term deal. So right now he's playing on the franchise tag. So if you can trade him and get something for him, you might as well do it. Now on the Lions end, Stafford's been there and he's been successful, but he's not going to win you a title. I'm pretty confident that the Lions and the Redskins will have top 10 picks next year. So the Lions can use those picks to get their quarterback of the future. Like I said, Scherf's talented. He's been to 3 Pro Bowls in 5 years. Injury concerns lately, but I think he'll bounce back from that. And the Lions haven't had a good offensive line in my lifetime, I don't think. So obviously it'd be an upgrade there. And the cherry on top here is if they want to, Cam Newton's still available. They can sign him for a 1 or 2 year deal, and then figure out, hey, if Cam goes in and lights it up, keep him. If not, then lose for Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence from Clemson. Lose for Lawrence, get him, top pick, and rock out. What do you think?
I like that one. I don't think I wouldn't want to play Stafford twice a year, but I'd much rather play against Dwayne Haskins. But that makes sense. If I was the Lions, you kind of know what Stafford gives you. So in order to get another first-round pick, I don't think it would hurt them. So that would work on both sides. But I don't know about Rivera. What he wants, Stafford, I don't know really what he wants, but
who knows?
I'm sure he'd take him over Haskins.
Oh my gosh, I'd take anybody over Haskins.
All right.
I'd take you in high school over Haskins.
Oh yeah, Haskins. He's another story. All right, so my first dream, I don't know if it's a dream trade, but one I think could happen. A team we've talked about on here during our little pre-draft special or draft special, a team that we both said did absolutely nothing in the draft, which is the Packers. Okay? So I have the Packers and the Browns. I have the Browns sending Odell Beckham to the Packers for next year's first-round pick and Alan Lazard.
Okay.
So, I think Green Bay would give up Lazard if they were to have Devontae Adams and Odell Beckham.
Oh.
And then if you're sitting there with the Browns, you still have Jarvis Landry. They signed Austin Hooper. Still got Njoku. You got Nick Chubb. You got Kareem Hunt. You throw Lazard in there. He could be like a number 3. He had a pretty decent year last year. He did okay. I think that's something the Packers would definitely excite their fans a little bit because, like we said earlier, we both said they didn't really do much in the draft. They've never given Aaron Rodgers really much. So to pair up Odell with Devontae Adams, I think that would be pretty good.
That'd be unreal.
That'd be awesome.
There'd probably be awesome to see who the lead dog is.
Yeah.
But that trade makes a lot of sense for Green Bay. OBJ, I always worry about his attitude, but his talent, you can't argue with his talent. If you just look at what he does on the field, he's easily one of the best wide receivers in the game.
Yeah.
I'm not big on Lazard, but you got to throw something in the pot for Cleveland. And if I'm Cleveland, though, I'm not sure that trade excites me a whole lot simply because Landry, he was the number 1 receiver in Miami, but I think he averaged like 4 yards a reception.
Yeah.
He caught 9 or 10 passes a game probably, but he wasn't getting too far down the field. OBJ at least allows him to stretch the field. And maybe Lazard can do that because I think Lazard, he's a bigger receiver, I believe. So, get him downfield might help out at least for a year, and then, you can upgrade your receiving core next season.
Yeah, I think
if you're Cleveland.
Yeah, I think they can look at it as obviously that the pick is what's the big turning point there. In order to get another first-round pick, like you said, they could get another top receiver or just kind of replace replace Odell because you don't ever really know where his head's at. But I think if they send him to Green Bay, I mean, just knowing he's going to play with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I think he could have 1,400 yards. I mean, I think he'd turn it on if he got traded. So. It almost seems like he's bored in Cleveland. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I sure would hope he'd get it together going out there with Aaron Rodgers. So that's my first. Awesome. Like that trade is a perfect segue into my next trade. And I love that we didn't talk about this beforehand because my next trade also involves Green Bay and also involves a big name wide receiver. In my trade, Green Bay gives up a fourth, maybe a third round pick to the Bengals for A.J. Green.
Okay.
So, like you were talking with Aaron Rodgers, I mean, the Packers can only mess with his head so much before, they have to do something. They got to get him some wide receiver help. Devontae Adams can't do it all by himself forever. And the window for A.J. Green to win a championship and the window for the Packers to win a championship with Aaron Rodgers is quickly closing. So if they want another ring in Wisconsin, it's got to happen pretty quickly. Now, Cincinnati, they had to franchise tag A.J. Green because he wasn't keen on signing a long-term deal right now. So he might be wanting to get out of there. And although his leadership would be great to have in the locker room with Joe Burrow coming in as a rookie quarterback, they already have Tyler Boyd. They have John Ross, who's whatever. But they just drafted T. Higgins, who's basically A.J. Green Jr. And the Bengals, again, just like with the Redskins in my trade with Brandon Scherf, the franchise tag, you might as well get something for them if they can. And if I'm Green Bay, I say, hey, Zach Taylor, coach of Cincinnati, I'll give you a fifth-round pick for A.J. Green. And he's going to say no. And they say fourth-round pick, and he's probably thinking about it. So, you're looking at fourth, maybe a third, and you get A.J. Green, who's Hall of Fame caliber receiver. Now, granted, he's coming back from injury, but I bet they could make that work. And that'd be a win, I think, for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we both had the same kind of thought in mind there. The Packers need another receiver. So A.J. Green would fit. I mean, like you said, I mean,
and him and Devontae are big.
He would work. Yeah, that would work. I mean,
over 6 foot. Be nice.
That might stroke Rodgers' confidence a little bit instead of drafting a quarterback in the first round because he's not too happy about that. But
no kidding.
All right, so my second trade, I'm going to go on the defensive side here. I didn't want to go all offensive, so I got to throw some defensive love in here. So. I mean, there's a few things that we've talked about on here that we dislike, okay? We dislike Clowney. We don't really like Dak Prescott and the contract situation.
Correct.
And we don't like the way Bill O'Brien handles the Texans. So this trade here is between the Steelers and the Texans. Okay.
Bill O'Brien tearing it down.
Bill O'Brien just straight destroying it, keeping only Deshaun Watson and trading everybody else.
Okay.
So we have Derek Watt signed with the Steelers. We have T.J. Watt on the Steelers. All right. So Bill O'Brien's going to send brother number 3, J.J. Watt, to the Steelers. Okay. So we got the brother trio in Pittsburgh. Make the family happy. And mom and dad can go to one city and watch all the games, see all the kids. And then we have the Texans getting Bud Dupree, who's on a franchise tag for $50 million. So I looked into it. Steelers, if they were to do this, I mean, they're pretty tight up against the cap. So, I mean, I kind of had to make it work a little bit. So Bud Dupree is getting like $15 million next year on the franchise tag. So I don't see why they wouldn't throw him in. I mean, he could probably just walk. He'll probably walk next year anyway. I mean, unless they're going to throw a bunch of money at him. So I got them sending Bud Dupree, Vance McDonald, who makes about $5 million, and a 4th-round pick for J.J. Watt.
Now, J.J. Watt, I mean, that's a lot for Watt, but
he makes a lot of money, so I threw in
and he's
Dupree and McDonald clears up about $20 million.
And all right. So there's a lot going on here. So J.J. Watt, he is still good. I mean, he's not what he used to be. He's not, NFL Defensive Player of the Year still. But he is
good. Yeah.
And the Steelers, by doing that, they might, like you said, I mean, we're on the same page with this franchise tag deal, man. If they're not long term, you might as well get something for them. So that does allow them to get something for Dupree, and they free up a lot of cap space. That's pretty good. Now, it will break. Listen, I'm not a Texans fan, but J.J. Watt is Mr. Houston Texan.
Yeah,
I mean, he raised what, $20 million for the hurricane that went through. I mean, gosh, that would break everyone's heart in the state of Texas, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
on
to me,
paper, though, it makes sense.
I mean, this isn't a move that I guarantee. I mean, like a fantasy situation. I mean, how cool would it be though to play with your two brothers in the NFL? I mean, I thought that was pretty neat.
Oh yeah.
And like you said, I mean, if Bill O'Brien can trade DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, why wouldn't he trade J.J. Watt?
Surprised he didn't trade himself.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like you said, I know Watt. He's been with the Texans forever. He's a good dude. He does a lot for that community.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, just to me, just the way that he looks, I mean, he just looks like he would look good in a Steelers uniform. I mean, wearing like the bionic elbow pad.
Especially the way he plays, man.
Yeah, just like a tough nose. I mean,
yep.
He's like one of those old Steelers. So, I
mean,
didn't
he come back from a torn pec in like 6 weeks or something?
Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
He just seems like he would fit there, and I don't know. I guess I mean, Vance McDonald. He doesn't do much. I mean, he clears up some space. I mean, they did sign Ebron earlier this year, so
right.
I guess they still would have a starting tight end. So I mean, Vance McDonald clears a little room.
Ebron was one of your picks for
last year.
Yeah, for
last week. Yeah.
Trade acquisition, who would make a big impact, and now you're trying to get Vance McDonald out of there. So your Ebron pick sounds better. I see what you're doing here, man. I see what you're doing. All right, so my third pick is a defensive player as well, and it is, in my opinion, the best defensive player in the NFL. So my third trade, the Miami Dolphins. So next season, this past year, Miami Dolphins, I think, had 14 picks before the draft started.
I think so, yeah.
This coming draft, 2021, they have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. So the Miami Dolphins take 2 of those picks, maybe both first, maybe a first and second, maybe a first and both seconds. And they send them to the Los Angeles Rams for Aaron Donald.
Oh.
Now, hear me out here. I know, Aaron Donald.
I mean, I think the Rams are on the decline, so yeah, I mean.
Right. So hear me out. The Rams haven't had a first-round pick since they drafted Jared Goff first overall in 2016. Their highest pick they've had in any draft since then was 44, 89, 62, and this year their highest pick was 51st.
Mm-hmm.
So, and don't forget, they don't have a first-round pick in 2021 either. They gave that up for the Jaguars in the Jalen Ramsey trade. They haven't had a first-round pick this is going to be 5 years in a row. Now, don't get me wrong, Donald obviously would be an enormous loss. But I don't see the Rams competing for a Super Bowl in the next few years, and they could really use some draft picks, especially high draft picks, to fill some holes.
Yeah.
So pull it in, if you can get 2 first-rounders for Miami, both of their first-rounders next year, I mean, why not? Because that's going to give you some keys to the future. And Miami, like I just said a minute ago, they got a ton of picks last year. They got more picks coming up this year. Why not use them and get a guaranteed person it's the best defense player in the NFL, if you ask me.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
We know first-round picks, historically, you got a 50-50 shot on them. Well, if you got 2 first-round picks, you're going to hit one of them, right? Why not just get rid of them both and get the best defensive player in football? And his salaries aren't too crazy either. He's got his base salary is $17 million this year, I think $19.8 next year, and his base salary is only $9.2, 14, and 16.7. So you got him locked up for a while granted, it's a lot of money, but the Dolphins always have cap space. And right now, your quarterback is cheap. Your running backs are cheap. Your wide receivers are pretty cheap. Why not use that money and get Aaron Donald on your squad? What say you, Brian?
That'd be a big one. That'd be a big trade. Like I said, the best defensive player in football right now. But, yeah, the Rams – to me, the Rams are pretty much a done deal, I think, in the NFC. I mean,
Yeah, their own division. I mean, you
yeah.
got 49ers sitting right there.
I mean, they got rid of Gurley. I mean, Goff he's a little bit above average to me. Like you
And the
said,
Rams,
I don't see them contending. I mean, contending for a Super Bowl. I mean, I think the best case scenario for them is maybe a wild card, maybe. I mean, and that's
yeah,
pushing it. That's pushing it. So, yeah, I
and the
mean,
Rams,
why not load up with first round picks and see
and the
see
Rams
what
are cap
happens?
strapped. So I mean, granted, Donald was worth every penny, but I mean, you don't have to worry about that contract anymore. And he's locked his contracts for like another 5 years or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's not gonna single handedly win you the Super Bowl. So, I mean,
Right.
that definitely be that would shake up the NFL a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I could see that happening for sure. I'd like to see that.
That's
All
a good
right,
one, man.
so all right, let's see here. I got 2 left. I'm trying to think of which one I want to use. All right, I'm going to go back to the offensive side.
Okay.
All right. So as we all know, we've talked about it time and time again. Tom Brady goes to the Buccaneers.
Mhm.
So Tommy's down in Tampa, gets his buddy Gronk to come out of retirement. Now we have Gronk and Brady in Tampa Bay.
Mhm.
He's missing somebody, though. He's missing his buddy.
I know who it is.
He's missing his buddy Julian Edelman.
Okay.
So here we
You
go.
don't think you don't think Scotty Miller is going to be the next Julian Edelman?
No. So I got Julian Edelman, who he had a good year last year. I mean, he had 100 catches, 1,100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He's Tom
He's
Brady.
consistent, man. He does the same thing every year. Mm-hmm.
He's Tommy's guy. I mean, so I have the Bucks getting Julian Edelman, and then the Patriots getting O.J. Howard and a 5th-round pick.
Ooh, man.
They have Gronk, and you still have Cameron Brate. O.J. Howard's a young kid. He's 25. He could be a trade piece that New England would want in order to make that deal. I mean, Edelman's 34 years old. He's just Tom's guy. So I'd like to see them trade.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him. I mean, to me, that works for both sides because, I mean, New England doesn't have a tight end. And, I mean, to get a 25-year-old tight end and a 5th-round pick or a pick for Julian Edelman at this point, I mean.
I couldn't believe the Patriots didn't try to get O.J. Howard last season.
Yeah, I mean.
When they obviously needed that, someone in the tight end spot. And
it could be Brate. I mean, you could trade Brate or Howard, but to me, I would take Howard and a pick for Edelman. I mean, I'd do that deal in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I mean, you have a lot more upside with Howard. He's physically gifted. He just never put it together. But if he's going to find and play for a coach that can get him to put it all together, it's Belichick. And, I mean, obviously, Gronk and everything. He knows what to do with tight ends and how to use them.
Yeah.
So,
I
like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's just a deal that works for me. That works for both sides. I mean, I don't necessarily think the Buccaneers need a receiver, but, I mean –
now keep in mind, right?
Tommy likes his guys, though. I mean,
and keep in mind, Edelman's 32, I think.
He's 34.
Oh,
yeah. So he's getting
even worse.
Yeah, it's even worse.
So I don't know. I mean, that'd be a stretch for Tampa. However,
if Brady wants them, they'll do it.
And you're only going to have Brady for a year or two, so you're probably going to have Edelman for a year or two. Might as well do it. I mean, the chemistry's going to be there. So even if it takes a few games to get Evans and Godwin on the same page as Brady, Edelman can carry you, a couple weeks of the season. Yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, that works. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you got Evans and Godwin. I mean, they're outside guys, and then Edelman, you throw him in the slot right there with Gronk and Cameron Brate. I mean, Brady, he'll have enough targets, and he has all his guys.
Yep. All right, man. Gosh, that was great. I love that. Dream trades, man. I've been looking forward to that for a while.
Mm-hmm. That was good stuff.
So we'll probably head on to our first guest, Mike Seth, talk about Cincinnati Bengals. Why Brian's bringing him in here. Just a reminder, like I said, we're at Naughty Dog Tonight Brewery in Winterville, North Carolina. Make sure you check it out. I got a hat here. It's my favorite hat. I wear it all the time. They got other merchandise. You got stickers and shirts and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, good spot.
Get out here, check it out. Bring the kids, bring the family.
All right.
All right, Mike Steph, there he is. So I've known Mike for a while. Mike, tell us where you're at right now. And I will say you are not a Bengals fan. You are a Ravens fan. However, you are one of the smartest people I've ever met when it comes to sports. And you know basically all of the teams. And I knew you'd be able to represent a team that we didn't have a fan for. So the Cincinnati Bengals are it. We appreciate you coming on here and taking care of that. So tell us, Mike, where are you at? And tell us why you're a Ravens fan.
Well, I'm in Sarasota, Florida. Been hanging out here since the pandemic really went into full gear. So I've been, knowing my parents for the last few months, and they've graciously gone along with it. But I am a Baltimore native, hence the Ravens fandom. They were the reason really I got into football. I came into the league in '96. A few years later, I said, you know what, I got to give this NFL thing a chance. So it's kind of where it's at. But I hope I can represent the division rival Bengals pretty well here tonight.
I'm sure you will. And since '96, the NFL's been ruining your life ever since.
Absolutely. A little more each year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
All right, buddy, I'm going to give you my first question. As it stands now, the Bengals wide receiver depth chart reads A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd, John Ross, and T. Higgins. Now, A.J. Green's borderline Hall of Fame career speaks for itself. He's made a Pro Bowl every season except the last two. 2018, he got hurt. Again, last year didn't play because he was hurt. I'm assuming he's going to come back from injury and be fine. Obviously, we won't know until the balls start getting snapped on the field. But he's on the franchise tag, so he's actually a person I talked about earlier in the show. May end up getting traded. The Bengals want to get something for him before he just walks. Tyler Boyd, next on the depth chart, has really stepped up since A.J. Green's gone down the last two seasons. He's averaged over 1,000 yards a year and 6 touchdowns a season. Doing a good job shouldering the load. John Ross, he's shown flashes on the field, but he's only played in half of the 48 games he's been eligible for. We all know he ran a fast 40 time in combine history, but the only consistent speed he's shown is how fast he can leave the field and run to the training room. Now, T. Higgins, on the other hand, he is basically a clone of A.J. Green, and a big reason why I think A.J. Green might be traded. So, do you think A.J. Green will be dealt before the season? And how do you feel about the receiving core this year for the Bengals with and without A.J. Green?
I think there's a decent chance he gets traded, but I'm gonna say they keep him. I like. I can't see you putting your thumbs down. Okay. No, I like A.J. Green. Look, he's going to be entering his 10th season in the league. He's not the player he once was. As you mentioned, injuries limited him in the 9 games last year. And coincidentally, at the same time, you've had Tyler Boyd step up. As you mentioned, he's averaging over 1,000 yards a year the last couple of years, 83 catches, 6 touchdowns. So he's shown the ability to step up and be a young guy. But I really think that the T. Higgins, bringing him on in the draft, that's going to push John Ross as much as it's going to potentially make a decision about what the Bengals do with A.J. Green. So, this is kind of a make or break year, I think, for Ross. And you bring Higgins in, and as you said, kind of a clone of A.J. Green. They need a guy in the red zone, a guy that's going to be a dependable weapon that takes some of that pressure off of Joe Burrow. I don't think trading A.J. Green when you have a rookie quarterback, when you have the options that the Bengals have, I understand that the Bengals are in a bit of a rebuild mode, but you got to like what they did in their draft. They really, not just Higgins, but overall had a nice draft. You have to feel like they're headed in the right direction. So I don't know a receiver in his 10th year on a franchise tag what the value would be. I'm not sure that would be in the best interest for the Bengals to do that.
So I'll go ahead and tell you real quick. The trade scenario that I had talked about earlier was A.J. Green goes to Green Bay for a 4th, perhaps a 3rd round pick.
Yeah, and certainly for Aaron Rodgers with, there's a lot of intrigue over there. And is he going to be how much longer is he going to be the quarterback? Kind of puts the Packers in that scenario in kind of a win now mode with an aging quarterback. But I still think A.J. Green, he's got some good football left in him. And we're not talking about a guy that's on the complete decline. Understandably, he's not in the prime that he was in, say, 2015 or 16. But he's been mostly durable. It's these last couple of years where he's been hurt. He's missed some games. He only played 9 last year. Again, you ask yourself, a 3rd or 4th round pick, do you move a guy that you could still have for the next several years? I mean, it's not inconceivable to say that A.J. Green could still be a part of the Bengals' future.
All right.
All right, so that takes me into my first question for you. So we touched on all the receivers. I mean, granted, we're talking about a 2-win team here who had the first pick in the draft last year. So they take Joe Burrow from LSU. He had probably the best season, I guess, of anyone in NCAA football history. I mean, the guy played with a straight all-star team at LSU. I mean, you've talked about the receiving core. They have Joe Mixon at running back. I also forgot about Jonah Williams. They picked him last year at tackle. He missed all year last year. So you have a guy, basically another first-round pick coming in. I mean, with that being said, do you think the Bengals have enough on the offensive side to make Joe Burrow successful in his rookie year?
I think so. This is an interesting scenario for any rookie or any player really this year. It's unprecedented what the world is going through and how it's impacting the sports landscape. So Joe Burrow, like anybody else really in the same shoes, would be is at a pretty big disadvantage as far as developing that chemistry, going through rookie mini camps, OTAs, things like that. I think there's talent around him. You made a good point, Brian, that their first round pick never saw the field last year. In fact, their first two picks, it didn't really contribute whatsoever. So in the case of Jonah Williams, I think that's a reassuring thing for Joe Burrow to have a first round left tackle protecting him, the receiving core that he has. And as you mentioned, Joe Mixon had an 1,100-plus yard season. He's only 23 years old. There is a lot of talent. I think the area where I'd like to see the Bengals produce more is at the tight end position. So his name had escaped me for a second, but Drew Sample, is that the tight end? Yeah.
He's there. Tyler Eifert's there too. Still.
Tyler Eifert's in Jacksonville now, but they have Sample. Yeah, I looked it up. I thought he was there too. Under the radar, right?
Yeah.
No kidding.
You're talking about a guy that's a second-round pick, a tight end that played 9 games and had 5 catches last year as a third tight end, and C.J. Uzoma only had 27 receptions. So that's one area I'd say of concern for the Bengals offensively. I think Burrow has the weapons. Look, he's not going to throw 60 touchdowns and 6 picks again. It's hard to do that in Madden when you're playing on the easiest levels. So, but at the same time, for a young quarterback coming in, as you know, when you're number 1 pick in the draft, you're going to a bad team. So the expectation levels are not very high. Carson Palmer was in the same situation, but the difference was he didn't play his first year. And one key, as much as anything I want to say, and this may jump into one of your future questions, so I apologize if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but as much as we're looking at the Bengals and saying, do they have the talent to compete? And they're in a very difficult division, and they haven't won in their division. They've lost 11 straight games in the AFC North going back to early 2018. As you guys know in pro sports, the difference physically in terms of talent on the field, the disparity is not nearly as great as the casual fan would be led to believe by records. I think what Zach Taylor and what the Bengals need, they need a cultural overhaul. This is a franchise that in 53 seasons has 5 playoff wins, a franchise whose AV leader all time is an offensive lineman, and a franchise that has picked in the top 5 of the draft way too often. So you think back to just before Marvin Lewis came in, they were 2-14, they didn't have a ton of talent, but they had some guys to build around, just like they do now. And Lewis came in, and he really changed the culture and instilled the belief that the team could win. And they had success, albeit only in the regular season, not the playoffs. And this Bengals team is kind of in that same boat. So, Brian, yes, I think they do have a lot of offensive talent, actually. There are areas, obviously, that they need to improve. Statistically, It's hard to be good anywhere across the board when you're 2-14. But more than anything, there needs to be a belief that you can win. And a big part of that would just be getting off to a good start. If you look at their early schedule, 4 of their first 6 are on the road, but they have some very winnable games. They have the Chargers. They play the Browns twice within the first 7 weeks. They have the Jaguars at home in week 4. So that can give you a little bit of momentum. You build up and you go. And for a guy like Joe Burrow, maybe take even more of that pressure off.
All right. Quick question. Anthony Munoz, was that the offensive lineman?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So, and actually that does go right into my next question, Mike, and maybe you can elaborate a little more once I get done asking it. But people give the Bengals a really hard time about the playoffs, but they made the postseason 6 out of 7 seasons from 2009 to 2015. And they won a playoff game. Granted, they won the playoff game in 1990. So maybe there's a little point there with the critics. But they did draft the new QB of the future in Burrow, which we've talked about, just them. Mixon, Brian mentioned earlier, very talented back, a workhorse back, one of the few in the NFL that can play all three downs and do it consistently. Solid receiving core. The defense struggled mightily last year, but there is some optimism. There's been a few good pieces added this offseason. So obviously there's going to be growing pains. New quarterback always happens. And I doubt anyone outside the state of Ohio has the Bengals playing after week 17 this year. However, give me a little hope that within, 2-3 years, that Cincinnati will end their playoff win drought and will finally win a postseason game.
Right, 1990, Sam Weish, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, was the coach the last time they won a playoff game. No team has waited longer, and that includes the Lions, who have one playoff win in the Super Bowl era. I do believe that they are capable of being in the postseason within a couple of years. Again, always look at the division. The Ravens are built to last. Pittsburgh hasn't had a losing season since 2003. Yeah, Cleveland's an enigma. Obviously, the state of Ohio has had a rough go with both of their franchises. But the key, as much as we want to put the onus on Joe Burrow, the rookie quarterback coming in, we talked a lot about the offense. There are pieces in place. The defense was bad across the board last year. 29th in total defense, 21st in pass defense, and defensive coordinators' worst nightmare, dead last against the rush. And, of course, that trickles down into other stats. They gave up a lot of points. They didn't have very many takeaways. They were near the bottom in sacks. Again, I hope I'm not jumping ahead on questions here, but they went out and they made some additions not only through the draft but also free agency. They gave a lot of money to Trey Waynes. I'm not sure if they overpaid $42 million over 3 years for a cornerback. They need to beef up their interior line. DJ Reader, underrated, but again, is he going to give you more in the run game, or is he going to give you the pass rush? Carlos Dunlap was their leader in sacks last year with 9. I think focusing on defense later in the draft, which they did, they had 4 of their last 5 picks were focused on defense, kind of gives you an idea that they understand that they have a lot of shortcomings there. And I think they need to continue to build. They need impact players. Go back to the offensive side, interesting too, looking at the Bengals schedule this year. They're going to face a lot of good pass rushers. They face the NFC East this year, so they're going to face some good defensive teams. We know teams in their division are going to bring heat. We know the Ravens are very aggressive. We know the Steelers are very aggressive. He's going to go up, Burrow is, against Chase Young and the Redskins this year. So, Bobby, you know this. You played football, obviously. So much of what happens for a team's success, it starts on the interior lines. And offensively, you bring back Jonah Williams. That's a great start. Someone that you can hopefully build your future around. Defensively, I don't think they have enough impact players right now. And the hope is that maybe they hit big on one of these draft picks, but they need to continue to look to find big-time defensive playmakers. Because, oh, by the way, they're in a division with Lamar Jackson, with Ben Roethlisberger, Odell Beckham Jr. There's a lot of guys that they got to account for, nearly 40% of their schedule.
Yep, and I think that's a perfect segue into Brian's last question.
Yeah, I was going to say that kind of touches on my next question here. Like you said, they gave DJ Reader $53 million, Trey Waynes $42 million, and they signed Von Bell $18 million. Like you said, I think they know they have some deficiencies on defense. So out of those 3 free agent signings, who do you think makes the biggest impact next year?
I actually think DJ Reader has a chance to make the biggest impact because they need to figure out a way to control the line of scrimmage, control the run. I think he actually is a guy that they got a better value for. Again, if Trey Waynes plays well at $42 million over 3 years, or Von Bell plays well, they're kind of expecting a lot from those guys coming in. Those guys have a pretty good resume. But I think DJ Reader's the guy, when you talk about the defensive line, the lack of pass rush, the struggles against the run, I think he has a chance, just given what he's done, but also the fact that that's the biggest area of need for the Bengals defensively. I like that pickup. I like the Josh Bynes pickup, having a chance to see him play with the Ravens and the linebacker. They had a couple of good run-stopping linebackers in the draft as well. That's where they need to focus. Again, I think they need to shut down the run first and foremost. So that emphasizes the need to sign a guy like DJ Reader than Bell or Waynes in the second.
All right. So that concludes the Bengals part. I have an extra question for you, Mike.
Go ahead.
You've been very lucky and have been able to travel a lot in your life. And I think I remember you telling me that you've been to all of or almost all 32 NFL stadiums. So how many have you seen, and which one is your favorite? And don't you dare say the Ravens, because
Well, I actually thought you were going in a different direction with that question because there's two that I'm missing right now, and the Bengals, ironically, are one of them.
okay, I did not know that.
So I kind of go by. I've seen every team play at home except for the Steelers and the Bengals. I haven't seen the Jets at home, but Giant Stadium kind of covers both of them.
Sure.
My favorite, there's different ways that I would pick favorites. I'll tell you the loudest building that I was ever in was not even close. Was the Superdome. Again,
Okay.
enclosed space. The noise is going to bounce off the walls. I didn't have, I really liked Gillette Stadium as much as I dislike the Patriots, but I had a bad experience. I didn't have a poncho and I got rained on all game. I actually have not been to Lincoln Financial. You got me on that one. I went to the old vet. That made quite an impression on a 17-year-old watching them burning Chris Carter Vikings jerseys before the game. That was interesting. I could tell you easily which one is my least favorite, and that would be Buffalo. In the two games, there's an odor that is just emanating all over that stadium. There's a lot of fights. But at the same time, if you love a raucous football environment, then maybe that's the place for you.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah. Arrowhead Stadium, too. Really cool place to watch. And Lambeau.
All right, Brian, last one. Sneak it in there.
All right, my last one for you, since you are a Ravens fan. We just talked about the Bengals. So I looked at a couple future NFL bets here. What do you think is the better bet? The Bengals over 5.5 wins or the Ravens under 11 wins? Where would you put your money?
You telling me the Ravens
Wow.
under? I'd go the Bengals over. I think they got a chance to win 6 or 7 games. I mean, the Ravens could certainly fall back to the pack. You see after a season like 14-2 where everything kind of went right for them.
Yeah.
But I also don't see why they can't get to 11 wins. Again, it's dicey, but I'm going to go with the Bengals. I would go with the over on that one at 5.5.
Yeah, I mean,
I think I agree.
Betting questions are always welcome with me.
I mean, I like the Ravens. I mean, at 11, I mean, if you take 11, you're going to push. So, I mean, they basically have to win 12 to win that bet. So,
Well, you said, did you say finish under 11 or over 11? I thought you said under 11.
well, yeah, I mean, the over-under is 11. So, I mean, to me, I'd take the under on that.
I got you. Yeah,
I'd take the under on that, and I would probably take over on 5.5 for the Bengals.
Wow.
I mean, I think they can go 6 and 10.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 and 10, 7 and 9. And look, year to year, things change so much, and this is one of those seasons that it's kind of unprecedented what's happening. Obviously, there's a chance it may not affect the actual games that are played in the NFL season, but I think there's a really good chance it can impact teams. We don't know exactly how, but a team like the Bengals, the playing field may be leveled for the bad teams. There may be something that it helps it even out, or maybe we see the disparity grow even wider. So, not to sound cheesy, but maybe all bets are off this year.
Yeah.
But you did sound cheesy.
That was cheesy, yeah.
Mike, Seth, we appreciate you coming on. I know the Bengals aren't your squad, but you did a great job representing them and answering our questions. I knew you do great, so that's why we had you on here, man. Appreciate it.
Happy to do it. Thank you guys so much. Really enjoyed it.
Yep.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
You too, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
He probably didn't even do any research for that, man. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, that's I guess that's a division foe for him. So he sees them a couple times a year. So he's pretty familiar with their squad, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's probably not too worried about them, though. At least not for a couple years.
Yeah, I'd be a little bit more worried about him than I was last year.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. So
we're going right into the Redskins?
Yeah, I guess that takes us into our actual Redskins fan.
That's right. Yeah. Jeremy Golden, his name.
All right. Bring him on.
There he is. Jeremy Golden. So I've known Jeremy for a while. Good grief. I don't know, 15 years maybe. Redskins fan, Jeremy. Tell us where you're at. Tell us why you're a Redskins fan.
So,
and welcome to the show.
Thank you. So I know Bobby. I've never met. Nice to meet you.
Brian.
Brian, sorry. So I'm from Western Maryland. Grew up a Redskins fan. Back, I'm 40, almost 40 years old, not 40 quite yet. So, back when I was a kid, it was the Redskins and the Orioles, and that's who you were fans, of those teams. The Ravens weren't around, and the Nationals weren't around. So that's kind of what I grew up rooting for, and I just never made the change. I know some people changed over, but I never did. So.
All right, man. So we'll get right into it. My first question for you. Your defensive front last year had 4 first-round picks in it. Yet your D was near the bottom of the league in almost every category. This year, you added Chase Young, 2nd overall pick. He's a monster. I hated it being an Eagles fan, but it is what it is. But that raises your first-round picks in your front 7 to 5. And one issue that I see is that right now y'all are playing a 4-3, and that means either Chase Young, Montez Sweat, or Ryan Kerrigan have to play outside linebacker. Now, I think you tried this before a couple years ago with Kerrigan, and you had mixed results with it. You also added the ageless and Ron Rivera favorite Thomas Davis at linebacker, and you still have Lane Collins leading the secondary. On paper, I think this is a pretty good, probably above average defense. Fortunately for the NFC East, the Skins never seem to put it together. But what needs to happen this year to get your defense playing on the level that many think it should be playing on, rather than being basement dwellers?
So you made a lot of good points there. I mean, you go out, you draft the best edge rusher, I think, in the draft. It's Chase Young. You've got Chase Young on one side, Montez Sweat on the other. I mean, Ryan Kerrigan. Do you think that you think he's too big of a cap hit for the Redskins? I mean, do you think he'll be there? Or do you think – I'm not sure. I know he's Ryan Kerrigan. I know he's been there since 2011. But, he's pretty big against the cap right now. You're right. Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen in the middle. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I think that they might have the best defensive line in football. Just think about that.
You have the names and the draft pedigree. I'll give you that.
So, Jack Del Rio at Carolina was a tremendous defensive coordinator. I think, I've read reports this season that, the players are inspired by his coaching and Ron Rivera as well. Ron Rivera's a defensive guy. So I think what you've got is players with a lot of talent who finally want to play football for the coach that they have. So maybe that talent comes together. Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Matt Ioannidis. Ryan Kerrigan, you've got a pretty tough, defensive lineup there. And like you said, with Landon Collins in the secondary, Ronald Darby comes over. You got a rebuilt secondary there. So I think they're sneaky this year. I think they're a sneaky good defense. Would I draft them in a fantasy football draft? Probably not. But, I'm just a realist. I'm a Redskins fan, man. I'm a realist. I don't. But they might be a good streaming option, week to week. Let's see how it comes together. You never know. They like you said, they definitely have the names. That's for sure.
So 2 things real quick. First of all, if you haven't learned anything being a Redskins fan, it's that if the Eagles let somebody go or try to trade them to you, don't take them. Dude, Ronald Darby is a turnstile, and he's not an added – trust me, he's not a positive to your defense.
Should I see Donovan McNabb on that too?
I love the Darby, yeah. What did we say last week? Did we talk about Darby? He gave up his passer rating was like a 120.5 or something like that.
I love that.
I don't have any stats on Darby.
He's not that good.
Well,
I will say that I love that you've been on the show for 3 minutes and you already tried to get rid of Ryan Kerrigan, a fan favorite of your own team.
I'm sorry, man. You know what? We've been bad for a while, and I understand he's a fan favorite, but put the best players on the field, right?
Yeah.
He's been a Redskins since 2011.
I hear you.
So I was taking a look at the Redskins here. I looked at your receiving core. You guys hit on Terry McLaurin last year out of Ohio State. That he's a stud. He's fast. He torched the Eagles a few times last year. So That was a good pick. But man, other than that, I mean, I'm not really impressed with anyone else there on the roster. So, I mean, who do you think is going to step up this year? I mean, opposite of McLaurin.
So you got some potential, right? I mean, Gandy Golden, 4th rounder out of Liberty. I understand, he's not. I mean, he ran a 4.640. I mean, that's not real fast at the combine, but he is 6'4".
He's big,
223 pounds. He's going to be bigger than a lot of cornerbacks that are, up against him, and so, if Haskins, if he makes some improvements, I see Coach Ball's face. If he makes some improvements this year, he's a good red zone target for Haskins. At that height, if and when they get in the red zone, he's somebody. Steven Sims Jr., black guy. I mean, he last year he did a pretty good job. He's a fan favorite. I mean, he's 5'10", 175. But last year he had 34 catches for 310 yards. He didn't have a real role, until late in the season. I mean, I looked at a stat. 20 of his 34 catches came in the last 4 weeks with Haskins as the quarterback. So, maybe he steps up this year. You got Trey Quinn, the Wes Welker, Mr. Irrelevant from 2 years ago. I think he's probably a good backup slot guy. If he's on the team, I mean, you figure they're going to keep probably six wide receivers for their 53-man roster. I like Trey Quinn. Cody Latimer's there. His situation, we don't know. What he's going through right now. So we don't know if he's even going to be on the team or they're going to cut him. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of potential. Kelvin Harmon's another guy, 6'2", 215, outside receiver, good route runner, not real fast. I mean, there's potential there. There's just not a lot of names people would know, but he may step up next season.
Antonio Gibson, man, I don't know where you're going to put him, running back. I mean, you have him listed as a running back, but we talked on the show, I don't know if it's last week or 2 weeks ago, I think, that he scares me the most. I mean, obviously you got McLaurin, but I think Gibson scares me more than anybody else with his versatility and his broken tackle rate last year in college was ridiculous. He broke 30-some tackles with 70 touches. I mean, it was unreal. So.
Well, and that's why I didn't mention him is because I think Ron Rivera's plan is to use him out of the backfield next year. So I had him, on my backfield question. But
he should be everywhere, to be honest with you.
Well, I think he won't have a real position. He'll just be one of those flex guys. That, you just put, wherever. So, but he's a stud.
All right, Jeremy. So, last year you drafted Dwayne Haskins, and I was very excited about it. He was thrown to the wolves way too early in most people's minds, and the results were not promising. He was 2-5. He only had 7 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions to go along with that. Completion percentage was only 58, and according to Pro Football Reference, he had 38 bad throws, which is almost 20% of his throws were considered bad throws. Now, to put that into perspective, Mr. INT himself, Jameis Winston, had his percentage of bad throws were 20.6. So there you go for that. If, and that's a big if, Haskins is going to improve, he needs time and probably a lot of it. I'm sure this quarantined offseason didn't do him any favors either. So my question to you is, what is your answer at QB? And I have a follow-up after you're done.
Well, I'm going to put my faith in the new offensive coordinator there, Scott Turner, that he can turn this stuff around, and Ron Rivera as well, because, completing 58.6% of his passes, you round that down. I'm going to round it up. 7 touchdowns. You go out, you let Colt McCoy go. You let Case Keenum go in free agency, and then you go out and you get Kyle Allen, which a lot of people in DC are wondering, with his history with the Panthers, is that some healthy competition for Haskins? Steven Montez out of Colorado. He's a gunslinger. I mean, he's got a monster arm, but he's just not, he's inconsistent. At least he was. I thought he was inconsistent in Colorado. Can't see my Buffalo, but I think right now, barring what draft pick we have next year or how Haskins does this year, I think he's probably, even though he struggled statistically, he only got first team reps the last half of the season. And so maybe he's spending this quarantine time going over the playbook, doing what he needs to do to get ready for next year. And so I'm hopeful. He was great at Ohio State. I know that's college football, but I think you got to put your faith out there in Haskins and hope for the best.
All right. So this was something we talked about earlier in the show. The theme of the show, or the topic Brian and I covered earlier, were dream trade scenarios. And one of them that I chose was that I said that your Redskins would take their first round pick this year and franchise tag Brandon Scherf, and you would send them to the Lions for Matthew Stafford. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I'm not a Stafford guy. I mean, look, I don't know. I don't like it. I just don't like Stafford. You picked the wrong guy. You picked the wrong guy. Okay. Like I'm not a big Stafford guy. I mean,
I tell you what. Before Brian asks you the next question, I will tell you, go back, I think 2 weeks ago and listen to Arthur Claiborne talk about his Lions, and you might be sold on Stafford.
On Stafford? I mean, the only thing I know about Matt Stafford is that him and Clayton Kershaw went to high school together.
Dude, listen to Arthur Claiborne, man. You'll go buy a Stafford jersey after you listen to my man Claiborne.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
I know that a couple of the the ESPN guys are high on Stafford every year for fantasy football. He throws the ball around the field.
I'm just saying, go listen to it. Listen to the show, man.
The Reds, I will. I'll just end it there. I'll listen to it. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah.
All right, get it, Brian.
All right. So my next question for you here, I'm staying on the offense. I mean, an interesting thing, man. I was looking at the running back depth chart that you guys have here. Obviously, you have Adrian Peterson. You got Darius Geis, who I think is good if he can stay on the field. You guys signed Peyton Barber in free agency. You signed J.D. McKissick in free agency. We talked about Antonio Gibson. The article that I read said that they view him more as a running back than a receiver. So he'll get some carries. And then you guys drafted Bryce Love last year, the kid out of Stanford who was hurt all last year.
Yeah.
That's 6 running backs that are all pretty decent.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have. To me, you can't keep them all. So, out of those guys, who doesn't make the cut?
Well, you also got Josh Ferguson too, who's coming back. He had limited action. I don't think he makes the team. Depth chart wise, I think if Darius Geis can stay healthy, I think he can fill the pass catcher role and the running role. He out of LSU. Like you said, if he can stay healthy and stay on the field, I think he's a top 10, top 7 running back in the league. It's the Redskins offense isn't a juggernaut, so it's going to be hard for any running back there, really. I don't know. I guess, with Adrian Peterson, he's getting older. I don't know that he fits Scott Turner's, style of pass-catching running backs. But he's either a goal line guy, maybe like an early down guy, barring the, if Darius Geis stays healthy, I think then, you might see Adrian Peterson in there on the early downs. But, Gibson last year, 735 receiving yards, 369 rushing yards with the Memphis Tigers. So I don't think I know they drafted him as a running back, but I don't see him as a ball carrier. I kind of see Darius Geis doing that, and he takes on that Chris Thompson role as a rookie. But you got a lot of potential. Unfortunately, I don't know how 6 running backs make a 53-man roster. You know what I mean? So someone's got to go. I don't know if I see. Obviously, I don't think Josh Ferguson, if everyone stays healthy, will be there. I don't know.
Well, I did
All
read.
J.D. McKissick does is catch passes, so
Yeah.
he
But, I
can't
mean,
really do anything else.
They signed those guys as free agents, though, so you would think they'd keep Peyton Barber. And, I mean, I like Bryce Love. I mean, that kid was a stud at Stanford.
Stud.
He almost won the Heisman that year. I mean, and he had the ACL injury last year, but, I mean, I think he's a stud.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, like you said, but unfortunately, you can't keep all those running backs on the 53-man roster, so somebody's going to have to go. So you're probably looking at, Adrian Peterson, Darius Geis, obviously. I mean, Antonio is going to be there. I don't know. Like I said before, I don't know that he's going to have a position. I think he's just going to be a flex option. So maybe you keep Bryce Love, as that,
And the only good thing, I did read the NFL rosters go to 53 to 55 this year. So
that's good.
So you can
there's 2 extra running backs.
Well, I mean, maybe you'll keep one. I mean, still, I don't. Yeah, it's just tough. I don't know.
Especially with Geis, man, he's so talented. But how many injuries can he come back from? I mean,
it's just a lot of potential.
It's rough. Yep, for sure. All right, Jeremy, I actually have one more question for you. I know that you played baseball growing up. You're an avid golfer, and occasional runner. But there are a couple other athletes in your house. Fun little fact is I went to high school with Jeremy's beautiful wife, Mackenzie, and she was quite an athlete in her own right. She won the Maryland State title in the 800-meter run. I believe it was 2003. And then I think she went on to run a little bit at Auburn. So Jeremy also has 2 awesome kids. One of them, his son, the oldest one, I think he's 3 or 4, right?
So Will's 4, yeah.
Will's 4, okay. And I've seen Will swing a golf club before.
He's good.
So, Jeremy, with all this athleticism going around, where do you rank in terms of athletes in your own household?
3. Sloan is 2. So I got her by a little bit. But, yeah, definitely 3. I mean.
So is it Mackenzie and then Will and then you? And poor little 2-year-old Sloan is 4th right now?
For now. I'll be 4 soon. But look, she's a full scholarship athlete for Division I college.
Yeah,
you can't compete with that, right? So, I mean, she was there at the same time Jason Campbell and Cadillac Williams too. So,
yeah,
good stuff. Jason Campbell was great with the Redskins, by the way.
War Eagle.
Yeah, we have an Auburn flag in our front yard, not by
there you go.
My admission, but yeah.
So my next question, Bobby touched on it. You like to golf. I also like to get out there once in a while and golf.
Nice.
I'm assuming you watched the old Tiger versus Phil and Tom Brady match.
I did. I watched it. My kids were yelling, but I tried as best I could.
All right. So my question to you is, do you think, watching Tom Brady, do you think he lied about his handicap or what?
Absolutely. That was terrible. That was one of the worst. I mean, he played better at the end there, the last couple holes. So
he had that one good shot. He holed out from the middle of the fairway, but
the conditions were rough.
Yeah. Other than that, he looked like me out there. I could hit some balls out of bounds too. So
everybody who plays golf.
I don't claim to be like a 5 handicap though. So
if he's a 5 handicap, there's no way because I'd like to know what his home course is. There's no way.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. He said he was a 5 or 6 handicap. So I think he definitely fudged that one, but
unless he got nervous.
Yeah,
it might be a putt course in Tampa that he's been playing on.
Yeah, like a par 3 course or something.
Yeah, everybody lies about their handy. Everybody lies. Most people lie down. Most people say, lie up so that they can, do better in tournaments and things like that. He actually lied down, which I don't understand that one.
Yeah, so they put him on TV and he looked like a normal person.
Wow, he looked ridiculous. It was nice to see him be that bad at something. So
yeah, it was nice.
All right, Jeremy Gold, we appreciate you coming on, man. Yeah. You did a wonderful job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
All right,
see you, buddy.
See you, man.
Thank you.
All right, Washington Redskins.
Yeah, 2. I guess not the most exciting teams we're going to cover, but teams that I think the Bengals are up and coming. Like we said, I think they could win 6 or 7 maybe. I mean, it is a tough division, but the
You
Redskins.
You
I
give
don't
them a
know.
QB, and the Redskins should be good. If you give them a QB with that defense they have on paper, they should be good, man.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I'm just not. I mean, obviously, as an Eagles fan, I mean, I kind of like playing against
Yeah.
Haskins. So, I mean, I hope they keep him, but yeah, I don't think he's the answer, and I don't know. I think it'll
I
be
love
another long year for him. I think.
I love that 3 minutes into the show, Jeremy wants to cut Ryan Kerrigan,
Yeah.
who's like probably the most liked player on the team by the fan base.
Yeah, I mean, I like him, man. He always he kills the Eagles, man. He kills Wentz. I feel like every time we play them, he sacks Wentz like 2 times.
Well, I don't know. Do we have enough time left in our hour to go over your that fourth trade you wrote down? Or we cut it close?
I actually don't really have time since we've upgraded our Zoom account. I don't really keep the time.
All right, let's do it quick then. Real quick, what was that last trade?
I forgot to ask Jeremy if I should have asked him if Jordan Reed's still in concussion protocol. But
gosh, he has to be. That poor guy, man. I hope he retires. I hope he gets the help he needs, man.
Yeah,
I suffered a lot of concussions in my football career, man. It's not good. So yeah. I hope he gets it taken care of.
So my fourth trade I had was my wild card here. So in case you touched on one of the teams I had. So I have the Patriots and the Raiders. I have Derek Carr. I had Derek Carr going to the Patriots for a third and a 5th round pick. Raiders have Marcus Mariota.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
yep.
I think 100%. I think that would make sense. I mean, I think Carr is kind of like he's pretty similar to Brady. I mean, he's a pocket passer, young. He's still pretty young.
He's not afraid to check down. No. Not afraid to check down.
And I just think the Raiders, like I said, I mean, they have Mariota, so he could start for a year.
Yeah, that's great.
And I just think, Gruden, I think they're going to tank for Lawrence or Fields because we got Gruden. I mean, he doesn't care about his job because they signed him to like a 10-year deal.
10 years,
so
yep.
What's
10
this
years,
like?
$100 million.
Yeah, what's this like year 4? I mean, what's it matter to him if they win 3 games next year? I mean, that doesn't matter. So
that's great, man. I like that one a lot.
I think that makes more sense for New England, but I mean, if that's the plan in Vegas, why not? And then you have Mariota, like he could start. I mean, he's okay. That was my fourth. That was my 4th pick.
I like that. That's a good one. I tell you what, before we head out of here, one more shout out to Naughty Dog. Got the hat. Got all kinds of merchandise. Great spot. Bring your family out here. Like I said, they don't have the root beer on tap anymore. Hopefully they're getting it back. But they do have Coke and Diet Coke that you can get, for the young ones, whatever you need. So also, and Dunson on the music. Like I said, we'll probably open the show with his stuff every week. So check him out as well. He's all over YouTube and everything. Like I said, working with John Legend. Check him out. But all right, Brian, this has been an awesome show. We're looking forward to those dream trade scenarios and get back with you next week, man.
All right, man. We'll be back next week. Everybody look out for the video on Facebook, and we'll upload it to Podbean. It'll be on there tomorrow morning. So hopefully we can get some people to download it. I mean, it's a free app, so we'll start we'll push it a little more on the page. So we'll get it going. All right, I'll see you.
See you, folks. Have a good one.